I am born in the UK. My heritage is Indian, Punjabi. That's the language that I speak. The faith that I practice is Sikh. My parents came here when they were 3 and 4 respectively in the early 50s, and me, my siblings and I have all born and raised in the UK.
So my cultural heritage is Indian. I was born here in the UK in England, as were most of my family members.
So I am South Asian. My parents are both South Asian. My dad's side originates from Kenya and my mum's side originates from North India. I was born in the UK. My family have shaped me. They've shaped my beliefs and kind of guided me to be a good person, guided me to have good spirits and treat others nicely and kindly.
My South Asian heritage has enriched my life a lot. It's made me the person that I am. I feel really connected to my roots. And I like educating people on my culture, my traditions, my values, what makes me different in that respect.
I'd say my family have had a massive influence in my life from the support that I've been given from a very young age, the opportunities that I've been provided, partially by being born in this country and by my parents going through that arduous journey of relocating with very little to give us the opportunity to be successful and to do well. In terms of how it's impacted my life choices, I would say that I've been very privileged in terms of the opportunities that I've been given, but I'm very acutely aware that not everyone has those opportunities and those privileges, and it's not something that I've taken for granted.
We can often feel pressure within the community to make certain choices, do certain things, but I'm very lucky that my family and my parents have never imposed that on me, so a positive role they've had in my life.
So I'm a part of both the South Asian community and the LGBTQ+ community. And as different as they are, they're both the same in the sense that we both, in both communities, have to overcome a lot of obstacles and barriers, and there's a lot of pressures from different sides. So being a part of both communities, people in my community face a lot of discrimination, prejudice, bigotry, and kind of acceptance issues from both sides, families, friends. So we both have to kind of overcome those issues. I've overcome these issues by having loving family and friends by my side and accepting me for who I am, and also just living my truth, being who I am, being proud of who I am, and not being shy or afraid to show people who I am.
Like I said, my background is North Indian, but I class myself as a British Indian, if I was to describe myself. I like to think that growing up, I used to think that having a whole separate culture and identity was a bit of a challenge, really. I'd often not like wearing my own clothes or going out wearing Indian attire, or found it to be a bit embarrassing because I felt that I needed to conform or fit into a certain norm. And I think with the benefit of age, with the benefit of a bit more education, I've really over the years grown to value my cultural identity, and I feel very lucky that I'm able to speak another language. I feel very lucky that I'm part of a dual cultural identity, and I feel that over the last decade I've fully been able to embrace that. And I think partly as well, since having a child, being able to really be attuned to your identity, being able to make sure that you want to feed that through to the generations to come, has made me really sort of take a step back and value what I have. And I'm grateful for it.
So I would say the specific community that I belong to is the Indian community. That's how I would describe it. I also would describe myself as British Indian. And I would say that the way I feel I and the Indian community have integrated has been very well. I would like to think we're a progressive community, and we've been able to integrate into, with the British values very well without compromising our values and our morals.
My South Asian heritage has impacted life choices to the extent that there's always been a pressure, not a negative pressure, but a pressure from the generations above to do well, to have security, to make the most of the opportunities that that our parents and our grandparents have given us that they didn't have. And I think for that reason it has shaped us into wanting to make the most of the education that we've been provided, and really of all of the opportunities. I suppose the one downside is when, for example, extended family members haven't necessarily caught up to the way that you've been raised, and therefore when you're balancing both of your cultures and you're balancing both of your backgrounds, sometimes it can be deemed negative if you're, I suppose examples would be going away to live out, or mixing with certain groups of people, or going out on a night out, and whatever that might well be. Sometimes it can be perceived as though you are more westernised and you're neglecting or letting go of your traditional values. But I don't see it that way at all. I see it as really having a nice melting pot of everything, and being able to have the benefit and privilege of being able to enjoy both sides of both our British values as well as our traditional South Asian values.
I don't really stop and think before doing something, what will this person say? But growing up I definitely felt that way, and I am very much aware that a lot of people probably do still feel that way today.
I'd say, like, over the years, I've certainly become more accepting to it. I enjoy it. I value it. I feel like I certainly want to instill those values into my daughter and the next generations to come. But I also feel that I've found that balance of being able to feel confident in myself in whatever environment that will be. So I feel comfortable coming into work, very proud of my South Asian heritage. I feel comfortable going into family events, very proud of my British heritage as well. And so it's quite nice to find that balance, and I feel very content in terms of where I am. And I think it does come with education, and it does come with being afforded the opportunities and exposing yourself into environments where you feel challenged. And I think it's all really as a result of all of that where I feel certainly I'm at a position where I'm very content.
When I was younger, I was a little bit, again, nervous to wear certain clothes, how would it be received? But as I've gotten older, I feel very proud to wear the clothes I wear, to listen to the music I listen to, you know, eat the food I eat, to speak the languages which I speak. So as I've gotten older and my confidence has grown in who I am, I've become more accepting, but I also enjoy very much who I am and my heritage.
Sometimes I feel very British, sometimes I feel very Asian. It just depends on where I am, who's around me. Growing up, I wanted to avoid my South Asian heritage because going into a school in a like predominantly white neighborhood, you kind of feel like an outcast. Your food's smelly, or your clothes smell like Asian food, and it is embarrassing. But growing up and like developing thick skin, I realised that that's okay. It's who I am. It's a part of me, and I've grown to love that side of me. And now I feel as if, with things going on in the UK in the past couple of days, I feel like I'm not accepted as a British person, even though I was born and raised here. I'm kind of marginalised, kind of watered down to just a group of brown people that have immigrated here and have no reason to be here, and are here doing bad things when really that's not the case. When I was younger and living with my extended family, yes, because we had to please other people and those around us. But now that I kind of have grown up and I'm in the real world, I now no longer feel like I have to kind of give that any thought. It's kind of something I don't really care about. I think now if I am to do anything, it would be for those around me that I love, or for me. It wouldn't be to appease or like make someone else happy or do it because it's my culture. I would only do things if it means something to me.
I think there's always cultural barriers that you need to overcome. I know that the theme for this year's South Asian Heritage Month is free to be me, and I've always felt, certainly from a personal point of view, that I've always been free to be me. Again, I acknowledge that maybe not everyone has. I acknowledge that other people have faced challenges. I acknowledge that people don't necessarily have the option to be free to be them, whether that's their background, their family circumstances, their socioeconomic circumstances, whatever that background might be, there's challenges that they face. And I think a lot of people, and I certainly think over the years, and certainly the next generation are trying to break those barriers, but a lot of people have put their life on hold on the basis of what communities might say, on the basis of what family members might say, if they try to go out of the box or they try to take an action that will further themselves. And it's been a hindrance, but it's refreshing to see the newer generations now breaking those barriers and ultimately having the viewpoint that they've got to live their best life, they've got to live their true life, and allowing them those opportunities to be free to be them. Breaking away from the norms of traditional careers. I mean, lawyers, medics, accountants, I understand the irony, but also allowing them to explore the arts, theatres, music, careers that wouldn't normally be traditional South Asian careers, but giving them an opportunity to try and venture out and learn new skill sets and make, careers, and even if it's not careers, enjoy their passions without there being any kind of repercussions, really. So I'm grateful, I appreciate that lots of and I think it's a generational shift, and maybe we weren't always able to do that, and it's quite nice and refreshing to see the younger generations breaking that mould.
I have never felt pressure to do the expected thing, which I feel very lucky for. I have fortunately always felt free to be myself. I think again that freedom has come with trust and confidence in my heritage, what it's taught me, my culture, my values, that I will do the right thing. I don't need to be pressured to do the right thing.
As I've previously said, I've explained very clearly that my South Asian heritage has positively influenced my life in the UK, but it would be remiss of me to not mention the situation that's developed over the last few days. It's been a really difficult time for people of the South Asian backgrounds to have to deal with the rioting, the racist attacks, the abuse that they've experienced in their own country, at home. And it's really hard when people are being told to go back to your own country. It's not really clear what that country is when you're born here. And it's a real challenge, and just entirely from a personal point of view. As I've said before, I'm very acutely aware that I come from a position of privilege where I've never had any racial abuse. I've never been discriminated against, and I acknowledge that there's members of my family that have, but for myself, I never have. And the last week or so has made me really uncomfortable and really made me stop and address the attitudes that people have towards people of a South Asian heritage, and how a lot of that abuse has come to the forefront, and more worryingly, how many of the communities that we live in have grown up in, work around, express those difficult and ignorant and quite frankly racist views. And it's really heartbreaking, actually, from my point of view, to see all the strides that we've made about inclusivity, about diversity, about I suppose all of us being able to liaise with each other and involved in each other's way of lives, to suddenly be told that we're not one of them, to suddenly be told that we're not welcome here, or to suddenly be told that we are a problem and we're taking people's jobs. And it's a real challenge, because it's the first time I've had to consider it, and it's the first time I've had really difficult conversations with my daughter about it, who's 10, who really doesn't understand why the colour of her skin is a problem. And it's been challenging, it's been mentally exhausting, but I like to think that, certainly from what we've seen on the socials and what we've seen through our own networks of friends and family, that there's a heck of a lot more good than negative out there. There's a heck of a lot more people that will support us and oppose the bigots and the racists, and that gives me some hope for the future. It gives me hope to know that all of what our parents went through 30, 40, 50 years ago wasn't in vain, and actually people very much so see us as part of their communities and not somebody that's come here from a country far away to come and take their jobs or threaten them in any way. And I just hope that eventually the situation does settle down and people are able to really educate themselves a little bit more.
The people I've been surrounded with have always been so welcoming, wanting to learn more about me, learn more about my heritage. They've been so accepting of everything to do with my heritage. The first time I experienced any adverse response to my heritage, I was 11 years old. It was the first time I experienced racism. I was at school, and from that point onwards my eyes were very open to the discrimination, the racism, the unfavourable treatment which people having a South Asian heritage can receive. Because of these things, I have felt quite conscious at times of being brown, having South Asian heritage, but it has been, as I've gotten older, something I've embraced more of. Even if I do feel conscious, I'm still always very, very proud of my heritage. With the recent events, it's the first time I've ever felt scared to have brown skin. It's the first time I've ever felt I might not be accepted, or there are people out there who hate me because of how I look. Even through all that fright and the terror, I've never stopped feeling proud to be South Asian and to be Indian. I won't ever stop feeling pride of my heritage.
Just and to add to what you've just said, in terms of being able to see in light of all of these difficult times that we've seen, is the communities, irrespective of your colour, your race, your social background, where you were born, all of those things, they've all stood together.
Yeah.
And it shows that power of unity, doesn't it? And it shows that actually it really is a small ignorant minority, as opposed to this being an expression of the majority views. And actually it relays, when we felt those fears as brown people, how supportive our peers of all nationalities have been to reinforce and really support us, to say it's
together.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not a majority viewpoint, it's a very small minority, and that we are supported, and it's warm, it's heartwarming actually. I would say just be true to yourself, and in the theme, be free to be you. Don't hold back because of what people might say. Don't miss opportunities because of concerns what the community might think. Just go out, grab your opportunities, make the most of it. You have one life, live it to the most, have a fulfilled life, and essentially the future generations learn from you and be inspired by you.
My advice to the next generation: there may be times in life where you do come across a very small minority who may make you feel less than, try and make you feel less than, but to always remember that your heritage is a positive addition to your life. It doesn't make you inferior to anyone. It actually enriches your life and the lives of other people, so to always remain proud of who you are.
So my first piece of advice would be just be true to yourself, live your truth and be happy. Don't let these little ignorant comments get to you, because at the end of the day your time will come where you realise, this is who I am, I'm happy. You'll be at peace when you've accepted yourself, and that's when you'll live like your real life, your best life. My second piece of advice would be to embrace your background, your heritage, grab it by the throat and just show love to it.
So I guess really my advice to the next generation would be to just really embrace who you are, your background, your culture, what you've grown up with, and don't let that part of your identity get lost, and just really bring that to the environment, because you have so much positive contributions to make, and just not letting that hold you back.